From the ashes, she will rise again. My name's JR, and this is Warframe, built to destroy. Hey, what's up, pups? It's JR, and we're back with the season finale of BTD Season 4. Before we get into the meat of this episode, as always, there's a few things I'd like to get out of the way first. If you watched my most recent VR chat episode, in it, I said that I'd like to try using my VR chat avatar in place of my operator whenever I need something other than gameplay in the background. I waited for the video to be up for a bit, and the few comments I got about the subject said that I should at least try it for one video and see what the response is. That is what I plan to do, but I'm probably not going to be doing it anytime soon because the VR stuff is in my brother's room, and he recently had surgery to correct an imperfection in his nose that made it hard for him to breathe. So he's been resting in his bed while he's recovering from the surgery. I don't want to bother him, so I'll try the avatar thing at a later date. On a lighter note, in a recent dev stream, the devs mentioned that the long-awaited Melee Master Rank Pass and Melee 3.0 are on their way. Regarding the Mastery Pass for Melees, I'm really looking forward to it, as I feel like DE is going to improve a lot of the gear I love but never use due to the low stats. The main melee I'm hoping to see buffs for is Fang Prime, as Fang was my first non-starter melee. But, well, to be blunt, Fang Prime is probably one of the worst weapons in the game. I'm also hoping for two less likely melees to be buffed substantially, those being Plasma Sword and normal Sylva and Aegis. I want Plasma Sword to be buffed purely for the meme, but if it does get buffed, it probably won't be by very much. I want Sylva and Aegis to be buffed because I want it to be buffed just enough for me to be able to build it so I can use it instead of Sylva and Aegis Prime with little drawbacks, due to the fact that Sylva and Aegis Prime was probably one of the biggest disappointments for me in my entire Warframe history. Right now, Sylva and Aegis is actually pretty close to Sylva and Aegis Prime due to the fact that it's substantially faster than Sylva and Aegis Prime. So if they buff it, and I get a good enough Riven, I should be in the clear. Now, as for Melee 3.0, I'm interested to see how the new combo counter will work and how the new mechanic of heavy attacks will end up being. Other than that, though, I can't really say much. What's that? They're changing slide attacks again? People are freaking out. Why? It might kill Maiming Strike. With that out of the way, make sure to leave a comment telling me what melees you're hoping get buffed, and let's get into the episode. Now, from the title and hints from past videos, some of you most likely know exactly who I'm going to be building this time. I have technically already made a video for her, but it's kinda outdated now because she got reworked. But she also got a Prime, so obviously I gotta give her another look, right? Let's not beat around the bush. We all know who it is. She's back, and better than ever. Zephyr Prime. Zephyr Prime is the long-awaited Prime variant of the Warframe Zephyr, whose abilities focus on using wind to her advantage. I'm sure I mentioned this in my previous BTD on Zephyr pre-rework, but I can't stress this enough because people just don't seem to get it. Zephyr is female. Now, let's move on. I'm sure most of you know this all too well at this point, but Zephyr is my favorite Warframe, and has been for a large portion of my playtime. And seeing as how I started playing Warframe in Update 13, and Zephyr came out in Update 12, as you can imagine, I've been waiting for Zephyr Prime for a very long time. Then, finally, her time had come, and Zephyr was the next Warframe up to be primed. Then DE pissed off literally every Zephyr main by skipping her for Mirage Prime. One Prime Access rotation later, Zephyr Prime was finally released on March 20th, and I livestreamed the entire ordeal of farming her. Now, here we are today, where Zephyr Prime is full built, beautiful, and still doesn't have any good augments. Jetstream's okay, but it's not worth giving up a mod slot in my opinion. Anyway, I just want to say, because some people seem to think Zephyr Prime looks terrible, somehow, Zephyr Prime is, in my opinion, the best looking Warframe in the game. I was expecting her to look good, but I didn't think she would surpass Loki Prime in general badassery. She's even the only Warframe I have that I actually keep the default colors on for the most part. Usually I use the default setup for Warframes whenever I need to make an intro for them, but the Zephyr Prime you saw in this intro was literally just my A appearance setup. Anyway, we're getting off track. We need to look at her abilities. Zephyr's first ability is Tailwind. When cast, Zephyr flies in the direction you are looking with a base range of 12.5 meters, increasing not with range mods, but duration mods. In addition, while on the ground, you can charge up Tailwind by holding the ability button to be able to hover for a short time, or until you either roll or cast the ability again. I don't show it in the demo, but you can essentially choose what height you hover at by simply aiming when you're at the height you want. This way, you don't have to give Zephyr a negative duration build to make sure you aren't hovering with your face in the ceiling. Nextly, Tailwind is now a two-parter ability, whereas before, all it could do was make it so you fly around. If you look down and cast Tailwind again, you will instead use what used to be Zephyr's second ability, Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb deals a base damage of 500 impact damage with a base range of 7 meters. In addition, Dive Bomb's damage also scales with the height at which you activate it. The formula for Dive Bomb's damage is 0.2 times the activation height times your base damage, meaning if you activate Dive Bomb while 15 meters in the air, Dive Bomb will deal 1,500 damage without any strength increasing mods. For comparison, Frost's Avalanche only does 1,250 damage. Later, I'll do you a favor and calculate the total damage of Dive Bomb with my build. The distance you cover with Tailwind, as well as the maximum height you can hover at, the minimum damage of Dive Bomb, as well as the damage of the Wind Tunnel around Zephyr during Tailwind are both affected by strength mods. But the Wind Tunnel does so little damage, it might as well not be there. The range of the explosion of Dive Bomb, as well as the size of the Wind Tunnel during flight are both affected by range mods, but the Wind Tunnel has so little range that it might as well not be there. Remind me why we have the Wind Tunnel again? Zephyr's second ability is Airburst. When cast, Zephyr sends out 3 projectiles that damage enemies that they pass through, as well as exploding on contact with the surface. Airburst deals 500 base damage when it passes through enemies, as well as 500 more damage in a base radius of 8 meters when it explodes. In addition, when Airburst explodes, it will knock down any enemy in range, making it a good CC ability without it having to kill enemies. I find this majorly helpful whenever I need to revive a teammate but there's a crowd of enemies around them. The damage of the explosion, as well as the projectiles themselves, are both affected by strength mods, and the radius of the explosion is affected by range mods. Airburst also has a secondary function, but we'll get to that later. Zephyr's third ability is Turbulence. When cast, Zephyr conjures a strong wind current around herself that deflects incoming shots for a base duration of 20 seconds with a base range of 6 meters. The cool thing about Turbulence having a range is that you can use it to protect allies as well as yourself. If you have a high range on your Zephyr, you can stand next to things like defense objectives and protect them. It should be noted though that Turbulence only has a chance to redirect a shot. It's not guaranteed. However, and not a lot of people seem to know this, the chance to redirect a shot can in fact be increased with strength mods. I don't know what the base chance is, but I do know that with a high strength build, you're pretty much never going to get hit. Along with that, the range that Turbulence covers can be increased with range mods, and the duration it lasts can be increased with duration mods. Zephyr's fourth ability is Tornado. When cast, Zephyr summons 4 tornadoes in a base radius of 25 meters of wherever you are looking. Each tornado does a base 120 damage per second with a base duration of 20 seconds. In addition, you can cast Airburst on the tornadoes to increase their size. The wiki doesn't say anything specific about what this does, but I assume it just increases the range the tornadoes can pull people in. On top of everything, you can change the damage type of the tornadoes by shooting them with a weapon with an elemental damage type on it. If you shoot it with a weapon that does primarily heat damage, it will become a heat damage tornado as an example. And even on top of that, if you shoot or attack a tornado, your damage will be dealt to every single person in that tornado. Want to kill a horde of baddies with a single shot, but you have Lenka and its corrosive damage? Easy. Cast Tornado, shoot the tornado with the most dudes in it, and kill literally every single person in it. The tornado's damage per second is affected by power strength mods, the radius the tornadoes can spawn in is affected by range mods, and the duration of the tornadoes is affected by duration mods. However, the pull radius of the tornadoes is not affected by range mods, so theoretically, you could get away with building your Zephyr for negative range if you're focusing on a tornado build. As for augment mods, as I've stated before, Zephyr doesn't have any augments I would personally say are useful, so we'll be skipping this portion of the video. Now, on to my build. But, here's the thing. I'm not sure if I consider this my final build or not yet, but we'll get to that in a bit. I have Primed Vigor, increasing my health and shields, Blind Rage, increasing my strength, Fleeting Expertise and Streamline, increasing my efficiency, as well as counteracting the negative of Blind Rage, Primed Continuity, Narrow-Minded, and Constitution, increasing my duration, as well as counteracting the negative of Fleeting Expertise, and Stretch, increasing my range, as well as counteracting the negative of Narrow-Minded. In addition, I have Energy Siphon as my Aura mod for energy regen, and Aviator as my Exilus mod. I mean, with Zephyr, you're pretty much always going to get that damage resistance, am I right? Now, the reason I say I'm not sure if I consider this my final build or not is because I'm not sure if I want to max out my narrow-minded or not. I would like to have more duration on turbulence and tornadoes, and it's always good to be able to fly further with tailwind, but right now, I'm just barely at 100% range, meaning if I max it, I will have a negative range build. I did say you might be able to get away with that, but I'd still like Dive Bomb and Air Burst to be effective over a decent range, so I'm still not sure. But anyway, with my current build, let's see what Zephyr Prime can do. Now, for the dive bomb calculation I mentioned earlier. With my dive bomb's minimum damage being 995.5 damage, and the maximum distance you can fly up in the planes without dive bomb bugging out and not counting the distance being 200 meters, we can do 0.2 times 200 times 995.5 to get the maximum damage of my dive bomb, being 39,820 damage. If anyone ever tells you that Zephyr can't deal damage, link them this video. And if you're the person who claims she can't deal damage, I have one thing for you. That's going to wrap up this episode of Built to Destroy. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to become a pup if you haven't already. Also, if you want to support me in the channel, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. My name's JR, and I'll see you guys in the next one.